This is Michael Popok. It's very dark. Do you know where Legal AF is? And speaking of a dark version of Legal AF, on our most recent podcast, we had to talk about Donald Trump threatening the American people to use the military against them. There's no other way for me to put it. I mean, I can't mince words. He threatened the American people that he was going to use the military. He called other Americans the enemy within, and he threatened to use the military against them. I mean, if you're not upset and if you're not shocked and ready to pull the lever against him at voting time for a guy that just said he's going to turn around the turrets of our tanks, U.S. military firepower, and aim it at Americans, I don't know what will upset you. I'm so upset. I have to put it into this intro to Legal AF. Take a listen. So we're left with Donald Trump going after Americans. I'm doubling down on it. Let me just explain it. Then
This is the scariest story we've done in a long time.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I never thought when I'm leaving law school that I'd have to brush up for this show on the Insurrection Act, martial law, the Alien Enemies Act, the Alien Sedition Act, the Posse Comitatus Act. Look at that one. I pulled that out.
I don't even remember ever hearing that word before.
Yeah, because I liked it. I like the way it's the Posse Comitatus. I liked it. And what it means is you're not allowed to use against civilians the might of the U.S. military on American soil ever. There was probably a violation of it when he ordered General Milley to clear the square behind the White House so he could walk to the church, Donald Trump, with his upside down Bible. That was the first sign that he was the Antichrist, the upside down Bible. And that was probably a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. But the problem is, just to round it out, Jeff Clark, who was the acting attorney general for 25 minutes or whatever it was at the waning moments of the Trump administration, when they said, when one of the presidential advisors around Donald Trump said to Jeff Clark, if he doesn't turn over the reins of power and transition and leave before the 20th of January, there's going to be riots in the streets, to which he coldly and callously said, that's why God invented the Insurrection Act, to suppress. You think Tiananmen Square in China was bad? Wait till you see the U.S. military being used by Donald Trump against citizens to suppress dissent about him clinging to power. So the fact that he even used the I word freaked me out. The fact that they were considering Donald Trump and others, including Sidney Powell, who's Byrne, Patrick Byrne, Overstock.com guy, Giuliani, and others were sitting in the Oval Office and talking about suspending the Constitution, invoking martial law, and seizing voting machines, and had an executive order drafted to do those things. That's scary. And now he decides that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act, which it's only been invoked 3 times, only during war. First time, the one time was the War of 1812. The second was World War II. And that was a dark mark on American history when we put into internment camps, concentration camps, not Japanese Americans, because of World War II and Pearl Harbor. Okay. Eventually, the Supreme Court got around to saying that was a bad thing. But the fact that he's talking about we have a predatory surge of enemies inside our country now. And then I'm like, oh, well, who are you talking about? The Haitians in Springfield, Ohio again? And he's like, the enemies of the people are worse. We have a clip. We got he interviewed with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. This is all you got to know. Let's roll it, Salty.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years. Yeah. You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists. Right. What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. Not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Okay, so Anna, by the way, Anna Navarro, I don't know if we can put that screenshot back up. Anna Navarro, who's a Republican strategist, made this snarky comment about his appearance on Bartiromo. She said, if he gets any darker with his makeup, he's going to have to deport himself. Having said that, what do you, true, right? I mean, what was with the makeup? But it's
That's
again,
really
it's part,
funny. It's not just
yeah.
the makeup. His face. He looks
yeah.
like he's like he.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, something's wrong with him.
Yes.
Like,
but what did you think about the enemy of the enemy within, which are all Americans, and him using the U.S. military against us?
I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, right? It's The Handmaid's Tale. It's The Handmaid's Tale is coming to life, right? This whole like obsession with babies and having as much babies as possible and controlling women's bodies and who can have babies and who can't and what women can do with their bodies and having the military literally do things like curfews and who can leave the house and where you can go. And it's just really horrendous, just what it is that he is trying to create. People say, listen to his words. The scary thing is, what if he wasn't telling us what he plans on doing or what he's thinking? Thank God he does, because now we know what's in his sick mind and we know what's in store for us. But I just never even knew that the military, that this was an option, that you could use the military on our soil. I always thought it was something you have to do when you go to war against a foreign enemy or against others, right? Like, you can't use the military here. That's just not how it works. Like, we're a free society, we're a democracy, we have liberties. And the president's the commander in chief. He absolutely has the right to order them to do things, but not against us, not against the people who are civilians who live in the United States of America. And look, the Posse Comitatus Act that I'd never heard of until this whole thing has come up with Donald Trump the last couple of weeks, basically says that the federal military is usually barred from enforcing civilian laws, and that's period, full stop, right? Can't do it. That's what police are for, et cetera. Like that's how it works. But the other scary thing is that this is not an absolute rule. And in fact, the exception kind of swallows the rule here, because it allows military troops to participate in law enforcement when doing so is allowed by Congress, or the president has limitless discretion, right? It's just terrifying that the president, it doesn't give any guidance about when you can, when it's okay for the president to use it. But it lets the president use the military, to take such measures that he considers necessary to suppress any unlawful combination or conspiracy that opposes or obstructs the execution of the laws of the United States or impedes the course of justice under those laws. And so it literally lets the president deploy the Marines or the Navy or anybody to arrest people that he thinks is engaging in an insurrection or is a traitor, or and the only recourse to take this power away from the president essentially is Congress to pass a law, but not ahead of time. President can still do it. It's if he does invoke it, if he does deploy the military, then Congress can pass a law ending the deployment. But let's play this out, right? President can refuse to sign that law, and then Congress needs a 2/3 majority to overrule it. Plus, thanks to the United States Supreme Court, he's immune. So now he can order SEAL Team 6 to kill his rivals on American territory, and he's immune. He's immune because he has the power now to do this. So he can abuse this power and be immune from it because he'll just say, it was part of my core presidential function. So, it really kind of terrifies me about what's in store if we have another Trump presidency. And he's telling us what he's going to do. So listen to his words.
Well, we've reached the end of civilization and Legal AF as we know it. Thank you for joining us here for the final issue and final episode of Legal AF. Look, let's leave it on an up note. What do we call it? Popokian? Let's leave it on an up note. This is not rocket science. This is voting. And if Democrats and those that support democratic causes, whether you call yourself a liberal or progressive, no affiliation or whatever, those that are women and those that support women, if we just vote in the numbers that we represent, we win the election. There is no doubt. I don't care what the polls up, down, like it's a stock market, a TikTok. It's not. We are the bigger party. We have the more registration in most of these states. And if we just have the enthusiasm, and I don't need a rally. I don't, right? Because rallies, to be honest with you, I've seen enough rallies from history, like in Nazi Germany, and they don't get me that excited. I mean, they terrify me. So I don't need a rally. That's not the level of enthusiasm we need. Just the level of enthusiasm that gets you, maybe a neighbor, maybe you drive a neighbor, especially somebody that's housebound. Maybe you deliver their absentee ballot, whatever you're allowed to do in your particular state, and you do it. And when you have the opportunity to vote, you see Georgia as your model. Day one of Georgia voting, day one of early voting in Georgia, they were expecting less than the 150,000 or so that voted at COVID. They're thinking less. It was double. 330,000 people showed up. That's a bad sign for Donald Trump, because most of the majority of early voters, mail-in voters, and absentee voters are Democrats. And Kamala Harris enjoys a 17-point advantage for what I call early voters. And they end up being about 80 million-ish of the vote total. Donald Trump enjoys a 9% advantage for people who show up the day of, on election day. But that's only like 65 million people. So you do the math. If she's up 17% on an 80 million population of voters, and he's up 9% in a smaller population, it's a mismatch. Plus, Donald Trump thinks he can mean tweet his way to the White House and just do big rallies and plants at his town halls by Fox, which try to help him. And that's going to win because he points, I guess, in his mind to Joe Biden during COVID, won from the basement, as he likes to say. That was a different time. We're different people. We have whole different mores and customs and behaviors and conduct. We dress differently at work. We don't show up as often at work. We live differently. The 3% surcharge for credit cards at restaurants isn't going away, apparently. I still have to box my leftovers. There's just life-altering things that happened during COVID, including voting habits. And so if we vote, and the we is the royal we, it's everybody. If everybody that not here and gets other people to vote, I'm sorry, I think I got Barack Obama personally elected. I mean, I do, because it wasn't just me. I was responsible for at least 10 people voting for Barack Obama on election day. I know it for a fact. And I worked the polls as a lawyer for the Democratic Party, and I saved personally, this is my little bit of heroism, I saved personally at least 15 ballots that were destined for the provisional ballot pile, and worked through the law on the books at the time to convince the election supervisor for that precinct that they needed, out of a big stack, needed to go into the regular voter pile. And so, but I'll tell you what I didn't do. I didn't do that for Hillary Clinton. And then I had no one to blame the next morning, the hangover the next day, when I said, oh shit, she didn't win? I thought she was going to win that. Yeah. So for Kamala, you have to leave it on the field. You have to do everything that you possibly can do from now until the election. We got less than 20 days left, or whatever it is. Voter registration is still going on. Karen's daughter's just registered. Jimmy Carter, who may not see, unfortunately, the actual poll results, he voted already. And so that is the level. Just vote. If you just vote and bring a few more people with you, Kamala Harris is going to be sworn in as Madam President-elect of the United States, along with Tim Walz. And if you don't, then it's not just, I got to listen to this a-hole for the next 4 years. It's what it means for the guardrails around our democracy, what it means for the institutions of our society, like the criminal justice system and the judges and the prosecutors and the Supreme Court. What it means, God forbid, he gets another 2 picks and gets, for not one generation, the next 2 generations, we're going to be dealing with a 6-3 or 7-2 super MAGA majority that's going to outlive him. What can you do about it? It's easy. It's like, this is the easiest thing I've had to say all day. Vote and bring 5 or 10 other people in your family, regardless of where they live. Don't care. Don't worry about, I'm a blue dot and a red seat. I don't care. Vote. And if you got time, go and work with the Democratic Party in other states where your vote matters, and you can help them on the street. You can help them with door knocking. You don't have to be registered in that state to go knock on doors or work a phone bank. You could do that from the comfort of your own home. So I got to talk to this audience. And yes, there's still some people, I am sure, because I can tell from the chat and I can tell from personal communication to me, there are people in this audience that have still not decided who they're going to vote for. I know it's hard to believe. And that's one of the reasons at the intersection of law and politics that we spend so much time talking about and ripping back the curtain to show you who Donald Trump is and what our society will be like if he gets his hands on this democracy for another 4 years. Or as Geraldo Rivera so eloquently put it in his latest tweet, where the scales have dropped off his eyes after this amount of time, to his former loyal friend Donald Trump. Donald Trump stabbed the Constitution in the back. Yes, I agree. But the only thing I've agreed with Geraldo Rivera in the last 20 years.
All right, see, I disagree. I think Donald Trump has stabbed the Constitution in the front.
Okay.
He's not even doing it in the back. He's doing it right in the front. Like, we know exactly what he plans on doing, and he's doing it. So
yeah,
that's my only
right. Right. What's that old line? He's got my back, because it makes it easier to put the knife there.
Yes.
You know that, and the other thing that pisses the shit out of institutions in our society is that he turned Americans in need against FEMA. FEMA is being prevented from working in places like North Carolina and Georgia to provide aid and comfort to people in distress, because armed militia in certain areas are scaring the shit out of the FEMA workers, and the sheriffs have had to intervene. One guy got arrested already for taking up the cause because, you know, Donald Trump has the ability to activate the sleeper cell of crazy in his party.
It's terrifying. Right,
and it's terrifying. And who would have thought FEMA, of all things, you're going to go after for cheap political gain? And then Donald Trump said, "So long, Georgia. So long, North Carolina." And then it's not like he has a shadow government ready to go in. He doesn't have a shadow FEMA. He's not providing the services. He and Billy Graham's son don't have enough water and food and fuel and rescue operations to replace FEMA. He just craps all over FEMA, and then he leaves with his little traveling circus to the next place to crap on the next place, and the immigrants there and this there. The minstrel show. This is that terrible show that he's doing. It's like a reverse minstrel show that he's doing to try to get votes at the expense of, you know, humble Americans. It's really disgusting. Are we leaving this on a positive note? I thought so for a minute. Welcome back. We have a long format podcast. We called it Legal AF 4.5 years ago for a very good reason. And now you know what it is. Wednesdays and Saturdays, join us on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we live record it. We have 20,000 people or so watching us record it. And then audio podcasts, you can pick us up anywhere on audio podcast feeds that you like. And I got some great news. If you like this type of legal and political analysis and commentary, find out what 40 million people a month already know. Legal AF is the home of that brand of commentary and analysis like no other. And join us on Legal AF MTN. That's where the After Dark stuff is. That's a new YouTube channel where we get to spread our wings at the intersection of law and politics. I'm the chief curator for everything on Legal AF MTN. I'm doing my own work. We're doing 5-6 videos a day. In addition, we've got new shows exclusively on Legal AF MTN, like Unprecedented, a show that I'm doing with Dina Dahl, where we look at what else the United States Supreme Court on a weekly basis. We've got another show. We've got another playlist with Court Accountability Action, the leading organization, pro-democracy, looking at corruption and ethical scandals in the United States Supreme Court. They got a playlist, right? We've got me, a new show that I'm calling The Intersection with Michael Popok. Wow. Come over. Plus, we got the podcast over there. We got everything. Legal AF MTN. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF MTN contribution, I'm Michael Popok, and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.